Listen up, partners. This is Good, Bad, Ugly on World Improv Network.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alex.
I'm David.
And we are your astute win counselors to get you through the week with any daily grind issues you may be experiencing or any problems that you want us to resolve for you whatsoever. Let's get to our first winner. Our first winner is Greg, and he hails from Chicago, Illinois, and he writes, Dear Win, what should we do about kids who get nothing but bad grades? Dave, you know a little bit about something about this, don't you?
Yeah. Hey, Greg. I'm a substitute teacher, but I don't have to take them home with me. I do know that kids need to apply themselves in school, and being a substitute teacher on very rare occasions, I need to emphasize the word rare, that there are some kids that struggle. However, I think, what is effective for me in the classroom is just kind of hawking over the person that doesn't want to do their work.
Uh-huh.
And I actually had something happen a couple of weeks ago, and I always ask the kids, I'm like, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I try to tie everything into what their ultimate goal. And these were third graders, and this kid knew what he wanted to be. He said he wanted to be a rapper, but he wasn't doing his little English work.
All right.
And so he had to write 3 sentences. Every time I walked over to his desk, he was messing around with this other kid, picking on him. And I said, you know what? Even rappers need to do their English because that's how you come up with lyrics. And so when I stood there for not even 5 minutes, and he wrote all 3 sentences. So I think you just got to give him a little extra attention and focus on the good. If you start butting heads even with kids, they'll just challenge you and it won't get anywhere.
And then therefore they're not going to get any better grades. They're just going to try to protest and probably even get worse grades, huh?
Right. And when I hate to say it, Greg, but when there's troubles in the home, sometimes it's trickled down.
Yeah. I can understand that. Huh. Well, Greg, that's a good question because I had nothing but bad grades growing up. Actually, that's not true. But I would say from the people that I've known and that either turned themselves around or showed themselves a consistent pattern through the rest of their life of doing nothing but bad work, I think Dave is right. A lot of it's rebellious stuff, and a lot of it's stuff losing discipline or having any kind of good parenting. So if you can find that little spark, to turn that around, either be that little spark that their parent isn't, or show them something that is going to benefit them because their dream job is to be a rapper, therefore play into the desire or their need to have to know English and do well, then maybe that can metastasize itself into having better grades. If not, there's always another option. Now, this is a little bit of a dark option, but it's also a green option because we're giving back to planet Earth. And that is we can turn children into slurry and feed them to the fish.
I actually saw a movie like that one time. I actually thought of another couple options. It's called Motel Hello.
Okay.
Check it out. A couple other options. One would be boarding or military school.
Ah, that's good. Yeah.
The other would be trade school for young children.
That's kind of like they do in Germany. Not everybody has a path to go to the university to become a doctor, lawyer, accountant, and so on. And hence why also they have some of the best engineers on the planet because they learn a trade. And they build quality product, So, trade school. I mean, there's a lot of people that are better with their hands than they are with their, let's say, their pens.
Yeah, Greg, you might have an entrepreneur in the making.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So communicate.
Yeah, communication is the key. And if they can't talk to you, then you better find a different parent that might be able to talk to them better than you can.
Or learn sign language. I mean, maybe you need to change the mode of communication.
Absolutely.
Get guitars. Jam with your son.
Or even maybe, learn whale calling so you can talk to them like a whale. Or dolphin.
Well, dolphins can communicate with whales. You could even cross-breed communicate.
That's great. Cross-breed communicate. Perfect. So why don't we have the kid be the dolphin, the dad be the whale, and maybe that'll be their bond to have them experience a new renaissance in education and desire to get better grades.
Yeah. You might take this relationship to a higher level because, dolphins are reincarnated planets.
They are. And man's dream is to become a dolphin.
Or a planet, or have your DNA sent to a planet. This is just endless, Greg.
Endless. Okay, well, let's move on to JoJo then from Denver, Colorado. And JoJo writes, Dear Win, what lies between thug life and death? Now, that's a pretty interesting question. What lies between thug life and death? JoJo, first of all, I want to know what made you think of that? Like, why are you even asking this question? And it's a great question. But I've never actually sat down and thought, what is between thug life and death? And normally it's purgatory, right? Between life, death, so heaven and hell and so on. But in this case, we're going to have to channel the expert of thug life and the person who's transcended his thug life, and that's Tupac Shakur. because he talked about thug life a lot. Matter of fact, I think he might even had it tattooed across his chest. Thug life. You know what's between thug life and death, Dave?
I don't even know what thug life is.
It's a lifestyle, Dave. It's gang banging.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay. You know what's between, in my opinion, what's between thug life and death? Thug mansion. It's an iced out paradise in the sky where the homies can hang out. You can drink whatever you want, as much as you want. Got all the jewels, all the cars, all the babes, everything you can possibly imagine. That is your first step towards death. And in between that is thug life and thug mansion.
You know, and for me, I'm a little nervous answering this question.
Why is that?
Dave,
you used to be a gangbanger growing up.
Yeah, but I was 12, so
Right.
Being
You
a
lost it all.
12-year-old thug,
Uh-huh.
in Applewood, Colorado,
Right,
and
the hardest place on the planet Earth.
stealing lunches off the playground.
God,
I have to say I feel bad for my thug past. I'm sure I traumatized some of those kids as I stole their lunches from
Now,
them.
did you ever have the desire, if you take those lunch pails that you're talking about,
They were bags.
bags, even better yet. Okay, so you were going to jack bags, or you jack bags from other kids. Now, in Thug Mansion, that bag could be all gold or pure silk or cashmere, right? So that is your step towards death. You have the perfect thug life on to death.
Yeah, and I think once you start going down that road, I chose to turn my life around. I'm gonna have to answer this question I'm gonna have to own it for me, because I chose to turn my life around, and I haven't stole a lunch in years. I wouldn't even think of stealing a lunch. I have paid for all my lunches ever since
Slacker.
that 6th grade
You're a slacker.
experience.
You're a quitter, Dave.
I guess I'm not a thug.
Man.
Jojo, I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Jojo, he's lost his mojo. Dave has lost his mojo. He's no longer a thug. But that's what I think. That's what lies in between thug life and death. It's Thug Mansion. That's that 15,000 square foot mansion that would be worth about $200 million if it was sitting in Aspen, Colorado. And everything you can imagine that is just thuggish, hood rich, the whole nine. That's what's there. And then you're there for a week and a half only, though. It's like a vacation. Then you go on to death.
If it was a museum, I would actually pay for a ticket to go through
Well,
it.
just consider it a museum.
Yeah.
It basically is.
I'd buy a ticket. I'd take the tour.
All right. Well, let's move on to Callie from Manteca, California. Callie writes, Dear Win, what's more boring to watch on TV, baseball or golf, and why? And what about in person? Dave, I know you probably don't watch either of them too much, but you used to play golf.
I played golf. I did. I used to play golf, and and I used to go to baseball. Even before we had the major leagues here in Colorado, we used to go see the Denver Bears was a
semi-pro team or farming?
something. But you know what? I think they're both very boring.
Which one's
to
worse
watch
on TV?
I think what's the worst? What's most boring to watch on TV is probably golf.
Okay, yeah, I can see
There's
that.
just so much commentary. I mean, you can listen to their voices, but there's so much commentary. If they hit a bad shot, that's kind of eye stimulating for a little bit. But overall, it's very, very, very boring. At least baseball, they're going to cut to a commercial.
Right.
Not like they don't have commercials on golf, but golf is one boring sport to watch on television.
Well, I think what gets me on golf, I think they're both very, maybe a little lackluster to watch on TV. But golf, that that melodic commentary, right? It seems like the commentators of golf have this very professor-like, stoic kind of voice. And if you're sitting there and you just listen to it, it puts you to sleep. You can stare at the wall, watch the paint dry, and fall asleep. It's perfect for sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Where baseball, every once in a while you have some crowd cheering, a cutaway to someone doing something stupid in the stands. You have the seventh inning stretch where they play music. Something to kind of keep you going. But what about in person?
So in person, here's the thing. If you're sitting behind a home plate, at least here in Denver, you don't have the opportunity to catch one of those foul balls.
Uh-huh.
And however, if you're sitting down the sidelines, you do. And you also have the opportunity, if you're not paying attention, to get hit in the head with one. Same with golf, and having worked on a golf course and playing golf as well, I got hit in the chops with a golf ball once. You have to be on high alert.
Right.
I mean, it's, kind of like a lightning strike. Your
Right.
odds of being hit by a golf ball or baseball are rare. I know they got good food at those baseball stadiums. You're going to pay, $15 for a hot dog and $35 for a beer. But hey, hey.
Yeah, what would you rather get hit by? Like, for example, I think the safest place, because I used to be a caddy, and the safest place on the golf course to not get hit by a ball when you're a caddy is right in the middle of the fairway. Because we always had to stand out in the rough on the side of the fairway in the 4 caddy spots waiting for the members to hit the balls right into us. But if you stood right in the middle of the fairway, you'd never get hit. You know,
But lightning strikes fairways.
exactly.
Quite
And I
readily.
think you're getting cheated at the Rockies game because if you're paying that much money for a ticket behind home plate,
They should
you
remove that net.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You should have a chance
Yep.
to get hit in the head with a foul ball. I mean, that's part of the fun.
Well,
that brings the action to the game.
Well, I always wonder why people take their gloves who sit behind home plate.
Yeah, that's pointless. Are we trying to do catch sunshine?
popcorn
Popcorn. Yep, it's got to be popcorn.
and popcorn.
Popcorn too, and maybe sunshine. But I tell you what, we got one more little piece of inspiration to get you the rest of the week, known as Horoscope Corner.
Love, fortune, status. Let us do your astrological chart. Horoscope Corner on World Improv Network.
Hey, Aquarius, guess what? It's your week. It's the Aquarian week, and you better be careful because I'm going to tell you one thing. One thing you want to avoid, Aquarius, this week is button-down shirts. Do not wear your button-down shirts for the next week, Aquarius, because that's going to bring bad luck into your life. Remember that, and remember, I told you so. Hey, guess what? You need to relax, Aquarians, because you're also going to have a high-stress work wearing all shirts that you don't button down, probably a lot of sweaters, and if it's hot out there, you're going to be sweating. So for relaxation this week, you want to go out and find a vintage foosball table and get a friend and play some of that foosball. It'll relax you. It'll also bring good luck to you. Hey, join us on the World Improv Network at AM 1340, FM 104.7, on Facebook at World Improv Network, on Twitter at World Improv Net, on YouTube at World Improv Network, on iTunes and Google Play Podcast at World Improv Network, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Win on Mile High Sports Radio. Don't forget to be a winner and interact with the cast by sending your suggestions or questions for each show segment throughout the week by hitting them up on Facebook at World Improv Network, on Twitter at World Improv Net, or by calling into the Mile High Sports Radio studio line on Sundays before or during the show. See you next week.